Hi, welcome back to Bexhill West. Well, this week's video is going to be a little bit different from usual. There's not going to be so much in the way of making, although I will show you some of the things that I've made. It just seems that every so often, although I've been working really hard and made a great deal of progress, the progress isn't really quite at a point where I can share it. But I've been making progress on one or two other things that have sort of been going on in the background, behind the scenes as it were. So I thought today we'd have a look at some of those bits and pieces. But to begin with, there has been progress on Bexhill West. I've done some more work on the canopy at the back and I'll show you that. But before we get into it, I want to mention the number 15 bus. Now before I do, I've got lots of these little Edwardian people who I keep saying I'm going to talk about, and I will talk about those today. And no one's mentioned that I've got these sort of people in Edwardian dress, all looking rather vintage, and a bus which I think's come from the 1950s, but that doesn't matter, it's all part of the fun. Now the bus itself is a number 15, and in this case it's on its way from Bexhill to Eastbourne. Now when this bus first appeared a few weeks ago, and I bought it, I thought it was just a fun little accessory to sort of augment what we had going on here. When I bought it, I didn't know whether the number 15 was a genuine route or not, but it turns out that it is. And I had a wonderful comment from a gentleman called Mike, who back in the day was the conductor of the number 15 bus. Now when Mike was the conductor, the number 15 route was run by the Maidstone and District Bus Company, who had a fantastic bus garage which was literally opposite Bexhill West Station, so it would sort of be here. And if I can find a picture I shall stick one up on the screen now. Now that bus garage actually had a machine gun on the roof of it during the war. I'll see if I can find a picture of that too. Anyway, I digress. Mike told me he was a conductor, and I said, well, I need to get a little conductor to go in the back of here, and I'm going to call him Mike, because we'll have a mini Mike on the bus. Well, I haven't found a conductor yet, but Mike saw the bus in the last video and commented what his bus conductor badge number was, and I didn't really know what a bus conductor badge was, so I looked it up online, found some pictures, and so here you go, Mike. Here is the bus conductor badge for our mini Mike. I've drawn it up on the computer. The font for the numbers isn't quite right. I might change that if I can find a better font, but anyway, there we go, Mike. I hope you enjoy seeing your badge recreated in miniature. Incidentally, I have that as a computer file, so if you want to send me an email, I'd happily send it to you, and maybe you could use it as your YouTube avatar or something, I don't know. Anyway, mini Mike, when we get one, he's going in the bus. In my last video I showed some of my painting of the brickwork at Bexhill West, and I mentioned that it's not really my thing, it's a bit of a sort of a black art to me, and I was really grateful because there's lots of really positive comments and suggestions following that video, with lots of ideas for me to take on board. Now one gentleman in particular, Gary Burford, he provided some really specific advice, mentioned some Humbrol colours, etc., and I'm really grateful to him. Now I did mention in my reply to his comments that I had something else that needed painting, and you know, he seemed to know what he was talking about. Perhaps he might like to give me some suggestions. Well, he came back with some more suggestions, but I did say I need to mention what it was, so I'm going to show you now. Now when I began this project, I've sort of designed all of the buildings for the entire branch line, and what I have here is, this is Crowhurst Station building. In fact, this is Crowhurst Station building from the platform side, and this is from the road side. There was a little canopy here, and a set of canopies that came across here. In fact, hold on, this isn't the canopy for it. This is for another project, but the canopy on the platform side sort of went something like that. Anyway, this is Crowhurst Station. It's typical southeastern and Chatham railway station in many respects, but it's yellow brick. So I'll put on screen a photograph of Crowhurst Station as it is, or as it was. It's been demolished now, and you'll see it's different colour bricks to Bexhill West, and I'm a little bit clueless, shall we say, as to the painting. Now Gary did put in his reply to my comments some really great colour suggestions, so really I'm including this really for your benefit, Gary, and if you see this and you wouldn't mind commenting, or anybody else for that matter, what colours you might use to go about painting or recreating these bricks, I'd be really grateful. Now To go with this is a separate waiting room that's sat on the adjacent or the opposite platform, and that's all been done as well. But I'm going to try doing a bit of practicing with painting on this. This is a project which is sort of way down the line, but I just want to, whilst I'm painting, it seemed a good idea to sort of practice different colours and different techniques, and as this is a prototype model, I don't mind messing it up with my practicing. So I'll show some images here that I got from the internet. This is the station from the car park. This is the lamp room, quite a good indication of the colour of the brick. Another image of the station building from the platform side, I think more or less at the point of demolition. And this is on the down platform, the waiting room. So maybe by pausing the video, people might be able to see what's what. And any advice on paint colours or suggestions will be most gratefully received. Thank you. And so what of progress on Bexhill West this week? Well, I've been focusing on the back of the station, the canopy, and that short little walkway that runs between the station building and the refreshment room. That's now pretty much dialed in, and I know what needs to be done now to complete all of that. Of course, as this goes, I then find other information, and there are some detailed differences on the refreshment room that I need to take care of. So for example, when I got the drawings of the station and I knew the windows were a slightly different size and shape, I now need to change those on the refreshment room, and I'm probably 80% of the way through redrawing that. And it's interesting, the drawings for the architect's drawings for the refreshment room give me some other details of things that I didn't know, so I'm looking forward to incorporating all of that, including the locations for all the drains and the manhole covers and things like that. So I should be able to get all of those bits and pieces in exactly the right place. Now I have some house guests staying at the moment, and as you probably know, regular viewers, I set this all up in my front room, it being the only space I have available where I've been working on to do so. And that's preventing me from sort of assembling the whole thing at the moment. It'd be rather antisocial of me if I set it all up. So we're not going to see the whole thing together probably now for another 2 or 3 weeks. But hopefully in that 2 or 3 weeks time I should have the refreshment room Mark II complete, and we may even see some trains running. But for now I'll leave you just with some shots of the progress that I've made on the back of the station and with the canopy in situ, which we didn't look at properly last time. So here's an overall view of the back of the station and the concourse, its canopy, and this of course leads down to the platforms. The revised canopy frame that I showed last week I'm pretty happy with it. It's more or less done, and I've made some of the correct pattern South Eastern and Chatham Railway valance. This will be installed all around this canopy, and I have a couple more of these glazed lights to add to the top of the canopy to complete it. However, I've since come up with a drawing which gives me a little bit more detail of these, and so I may well remake these to incorporate the information that I now have. But essentially this is more or less complete, and I'll show a couple of shots of it to give you some idea. I have of course still got to paint the mortar detail onto the rear wall of the station. Now you may recall from one of my previous videos that the changes to the canopy at the back of the station meant that this smaller canopy that sat between the main station building and the refreshment room was actually a little bit too short, and I was in two minds whether to remake it or just extend it. Well, I bit the bullet and I've remade that component. Here's the old one, and it's not much difference, but it was shorter by 5 or 6 millimeters. Well, that's now changed, and we've now got something that's a little bit more suitable on the back. This is all just balanced together here at the moment. It's not glued up yet. When it's painted, then I will permanently fix it, together with some little brick sort of corbelling detail that the trusses of this canopy sat on. So that needs adding to the walls of the main station building here, and also the refreshment room. Then it should all sit comfortably. And finally then, to wrap this up, thank you to the many subscribers who've recently come on board. The channel's growing really quite rapidly, but it occurred to me, I was thinking about it during the week, that I don't really know what this channel's all about, and for new subscribers they might be thinking to themselves, what is this? So in my mind, I envisaged when I started the channel that it would just be a sort of a weekly vlog of what I've been working on, and I tend to always be quite busy and get lots done. So I think probably in the next few weeks I shall make a channel trailer video that sort of shows the sorts of things I do and why I'm doing them. Now, many of you are interested in my laser cutting, and I get loads of questions about laser cutting, and so I have a video planned which I hope to be filming over Easter, which is going to cover laser cutting hopefully in really great detail. I hope to be in the process of buying a machine of my own, and I'm going to visit a distributor and speak to an expert and film what's happening. So hopefully there'll be some really useful content that will answer many of the questions that you guys regularly put to me, either through the comments or via email. So if that's something that's of interest to you, have a think about what your questions might be, and in 2 or 3 weeks' time there'll be a video which I'm going to ask you for your questions, any questions you'd like me to ask the experts, as it were. And hopefully I can put something together that's going to be really useful for anybody who's interested in laser cutting as a technology. Now, one of the great things about laser cutting is you don't actually have to own a machine, and I get by very well. I occasionally use the machine at work, or I have things cut commercially, and there's lots of services that will do that for you. But I think a video that runs through the processes and some of the things that we need to think about when we're designing our models on the computer would be very useful. And finally, on the subject of designing things on the computer, I've had quite a few requests recently about locomotive design and 3D CAD. And one gentleman last week said that that would be really useful. So that's something I've had some experience of. So I'm planning a video on that. If you've got a suggestion of a particular locomotive you'd like to see, I'm rather drawn to a Terrier, because that would go nicely with the turntable project for the Rother Valley Railway. But it could be anything. Certainly the gentleman who contacted me suggested an R1 kind of body that could fit onto the Wren chassis. But if we've got any great ideas, maybe we could look at several and look at some of the design challenges of different types of locomotives, be they inside cylinders or outside cylinders and whatever. Anyway, there's some food for thought for you all. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.